maybe. Let's see. I think it's going.
Is it?
Let's see. Starting.
I think I see
there
it.
We go.
Let me just
Okay.
hanging out and watching. Awesome. So we thought we'd start a little bit early and just to say hello to those of you who are out there and all that great stuff.
Oh, that TV has to turn down, Sarah.
Oh. There we go. We're still kind of getting set up and getting everything all
Hey, Clay. Hey, Brian.
synced and all that stuff. Oh, yes. Hi, Brian. It's awesome to see you. Nettie, Lisa, I'm so glad you're here. And it sounds like the typhoon didn't do too much damage for your home. So I'm really, really, really glad that you posted about that in Artist Works. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you're here. Clay, it's awesome to see you. Thank you.
Now, out of curiosity, how's everything looking? How's everything sounding? Aloha, Eric.
Aloha, James. Hi, Asa. Good to see ya. Oh my gosh, Greg. I'm so glad you made it. And Donald. Aloha from Albuquerque. I hope you guys aren't too snowy because I think it's snowed there.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, I know. The weather's been crazy. We've been freezing here. For San Diego standards, that is. It's been getting down into the low 40s at night and not getting much higher than 50 during the day, which for us is quite chilly. So.
All right, so volume levels.
Oh,
are
aloha,
okay.
Sabina.
Oh, aloha, Sabina.
Yay.
Okay,
And those of
thank
you who
Clay.
are
Thank you, Eric. For letting
those
us
of you
know.
who are saying that, or those of you that are looking at us and saying, well, how are they able to tell, who's talking? Folks have actually signed into their YouTube accounts, and that's actually totally free. But when you sign in, you can actually chat with us. There's a chat next to next to our picture.
Hi, Paul. Hey, Taco.
Over there. Oh, yes, we see Kenneth and Tucko and Paul. That's awesome. Yeah.
SAB Sounds TV.
That's Sabina.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yay. I get it. Yeah, and so, again, if you want to comment and have questions, definitely sign into a free YouTube account so that you can sign in and actually write in the chat like everyone else. We had some people who were dying to ask us questions last live stream, but they didn't know they had to sign up for an account, so that is going to be the way to do it. Now, before we kind of get started, again, today's topics, as requested by our Artist Work students, is going to be, we're going to start talking about our two big ukulele retreats this year, one in Berlin, one on Oahu, kind of what to expect and how it's different than your typical festival workshops. Also, I'm going to be talking a little bit about video and lighting, not only for our Artist Work students for VEs, but for those of you who are interested in doing better videos and maybe doing videos for YouTube or even just for friends and family.
Or Skype lessons,
Or Skype
too.
lessons, yeah. So all this kind of ties in together. So I'll be going over some of those tips.
And just real quick, I wanted to say hello to Lee. It's good to see you, as well as Aaron from Wales. Yes, you are in disguise. I didn't realize that was you. Please say hello to all of our Welshies in your household, as well as Janine and Jeff Scott. Welcome.
Oh my gosh. And again, thank you so much for joining us. So we're going to be doing a lot more live streams this year now that we want to scale back from the amount of traveling that we're doing for the past 3 years, which was just insane. So it's nice to kind of do these things from the comfort of our own home. So and with that said, if there's anything down the road that you guys really want us to do a lesson on, definitely hit us up. If you're not with Artist Works, send us an email at cheemaisel@gmail.com or CHEEMAISEL@gmail.com and just let us know the things that you're hoping a future live stream covers.
Yes, and aloha, Pablo in London. Fantastic you were able to make it. We tried to make this sort of a more European-friendly time zone live stream, because in the past we've done many that were more for like Australia's time zone. So it's awesome. Also, hi from Doug in Salem. It's great to see you, and Stephen as well.
Did you want to continue down the itinerary since you stopped me halfway on that? Going down the list?
Did you know where you were at? I'm so sorry.
Right after the lighting.
So after doing lighting, you can see underneath Craig's picture that we're just kind of going down the list of what our plans are. We're going to talk about general listening skills. That was something actually that Clay brought up in our Artist Works forum. Just kind of what to listen for when you're playing with someone else, how to potentially like hear what chords are being played, also using the various skills that we teach in our program, using those skills to within a jam setting. Like we show you these techniques, now how do you use them? And then just general like how to listen to someone else. And a lot of that involves not playing. But that kind of stuff is really important to be able to really sit and analyze what you're hearing. After that, we'll chat some, hopefully if there's time, we'll chat some about various practice techniques, practicing with a metronome or drum machine. That was something that Eric actually mentioned from the forum, as well as, setting up your practice time. Like, how do we set it up? I know we've talked about that in other live streams, but we think it's important to bring that up regularly, just to remind folks who haven't joined us before. Also talk about daily bursts of practice that are small versus really long segments of practice, like 2 hours versus, 15 minutes every day. That kind of thing as well. Also, if you are joining us for your first time ever with this live stream thing, all of the ones that we have done in the past actually are on our YouTube channel. This one will be set up on the YouTube channel as well once it's all said and done. So you can actually subscribe to us. It's free on the YouTube, and you can go through and take a look at all of our different live streams that we have done. It's pretty fun, and you also can still see the chat window as well that's over on the side during those too.
Yes, and we are experimenting with a couple new pieces of gear, so definitely let us know if things get wonky or if things are, awesome the whole way through. We need to know these things so that we can keep improving and making this experience better for you guys as well. With that said, let's warm up and play some music.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's see. So do this.
And to sort of help with being able to watch either one of us, I will be playing high G uke, and so will Craig, because I think the last live stream I was playing the Barry tenor set, which I still might pull out during the session.
All right, so first off, whenever we typically kind of jam with a song, if there's sheet music in front of us, I typically look and see if there's anything fancy or something weird that sticks out. For me, a quick look, starting with F, with the C7 at the end, typically means I'm in the key of F. So F to B flat, that first transition, again, is a tiny little swivel. Let me get more in frame there. From an F chord, I'm going to swivel my index to get my B flat there, so I'm not like doing anything crazy wonky with my wrist. It's just a nice little swivel. Now, the great thing about the B flat, especially when you're in the key of F, is that we can make it a little bit easier by not using that ring finger, and we're actually going to be playing a B flat 6. And on a high G, it really doesn't make that huge of a difference. On a low G, it might sound a little extra different. So again, that's your fault for playing low G. No,
but the low G, that G note's going to be the lowest note in the chord, and sometimes that sounds kind of funny. So that's just something to watch out for. If you play low G, I would highly recommend when you go to strum that B flat 6, if you have that open string, that you just aim for the C string with your strum so that you very lightly touch the G string.
Oh my gosh, Rachel's in 40s weather, crazy.
Oh my gosh, hi Rachel.
Oh my gosh,
and Laurel.
We've been freezing with it got down to 30 something at one point last week, I think. Or maybe I might.
Craig always thinks it's like snowing in the apartment. He's like, "Can I turn on the heater?"
It's so cold. Usually, I got barred from using the fireplace, which I really miss. I love the fireplace in San Diego. All right, so we have the B flat or the B flat 6. Now the great thing about that C7 is we can either just drop down to that C7, or we can, or the C, I mean, B flat to C, or we can actually slide up 2 frets for a nice variation of that C chord up here. So I can take that B flat 6, move it 2 frets up, and that's my C chord.
Yeah.
All right, so with that said, let's just try and see what happens. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So B flat to C. All right, so there's that quick switch at the end there. Let's try that again. B flat to C, F, B flat to C, F, B flat to C. Now here's this quick switch, F, B flat, F. Now that is a little tricky there, so it's going to be F, F, B flat, F. One more time, 2, 3, 4, F, F, B flat, F. Last time, 3, 4, F, F, B flat, F. And up, down, up, down, up, down, up for the turnaround. Now, this is the verse. There's going to be a chorus that we'll try a little bit later, but let's see a little bit how much we can manipulate it. And what we'll do in the middle of this lesson is actually break down all the things that you hear us do in the next 5 minutes and kind of talk about how to use these techniques to fancy up any other song that you already know and love to play.
One other small thing is on that very last measure where it goes from F to C7, the F is, I think, only 1 beat, where the C7 is actually 3 beats. I didn't really have a clean way of notating that, so I just wanted to make sure that we had a way to tell you about it.
All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's keep the verse going again. All right, let's try and go over the chorus or the bridge.
Yeah.
Not too bad. B flat to F to G7.
Because we're fancy.
And C7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, not bad. Now, again, especially that F to G7, I want to make sure that you're not overdoing this wrist action there from F to G7. All it is a tiny, tiny, tiny little pivot going from that F, pivoting on that index finger and dropping that ring on that A string. Again, a lot of the speed that you see us do on stage comes from just the efficiency of these transitions. You know, there's a lot of times it's just how to get there with the easiest way, and a lot of these things are so tiny in what you're actually doing with your hand. All right, let's try the bridge one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. To F. G7. Come on, baby, give me your C7. I wanna know if you be my girl. Back to the beginning. Hey, hey, baby. I wanna know if you be my girl. Repeat. Hey, hey, baby. I wanna know if you be my girl. To the bridge. When she turned and walked away, that's when I wanna say, come on, baby, give me a word. I wanna know if you'll be my girl. Hey, 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 baby. I wanna know if you'll be my girl. Hey, hey, baby. So a lot of those little fills, a lot of those little kind of those patterns there, I'm going to break down in the middle of the lesson here when we talk about how to utilize things that you guys already know, like hammer-ons and slides. You know, these aren't super song-specific things. It's you know, ways that we can help enhance these songs and just create more movement within that. Now, before we push into that, though, I wanted to take some time and get out of the way of talking about a really quick setup for videos. I'm gonna turn the camera around for a second. I'm gonna show you how complicated it can be, but also how easy it can be as well. The reason why, you know, we're kind of going overboard at the moment because we have a lot of our studio gear that we have set up, and for the most part, you don't need all of this gear. But the main thing that you guys need, whether you're doing video exchanges with us at ArtistWorks or you're doing Skypes or you know, FaceTime, light is always the most important thing. The more light, the better. Every single camera, every single lens, they crave light. So, you know, being in a basement with like one little lamp, you know, is not going to be the best quality. And especially on the more kind of entry-level consumer range, their sensors in low light are just horrible. So the more light you can throw at your face, the better all of your videos will become. So let me try and plug in the GoPro.
And while Craig is doing that, I just want to say aloha to Chris Miller. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you had a few sort of a scheduling conflict at first, so we're really glad you were able to make it. Also, hi Kirk Jones. I believe you're in Alabama, if I remember right. And Hobbs FFM. It's so good to see you. We are so happy you were able to join us from Germany, as well as, oh, I said hi to Brian already, but I'll say hi to Brian again. I'm glad you're excited about the gear.
Let's see.
So Craig is getting it all set up. And I think he's almost up. There's the GoPro. I think you can see it now.
So.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So our stuff is overkill.
Yeah. So I have. This is the main computer that's happening right now, but because of the setup in the corner, I have the camera on this side. So this is the camera that we're using currently for my stuff. I have the iPad kind of mirroring the computer, but that's not important. So that way I can kind of see what's going on without looking away all the time. But here are the lights that we're utilizing. And again, it's just a ton of light coming on our face. These are the normal lights that are on, but that just helps kind of fill some of the lights in the studio. This is the Zoom H6 that we typically take on the road with us when we're answering VEs or doing videos for you guys on the road. And we just hook it up to the camera up there. So we have really nice quality audio. Now, again, this is overkill. You don't need all of this gear to make good videos. Even, you know, a couple different options. USB webcam like this Logitech is under $100 and looks great. It sucks in low light, so again, the more light you have, the better. And it has like autofocus and all that, which is great. Even if I turn the GoPro around, which isn't the best quality lens, but you can see how much a difference, you know, having great light really does make. So again, light is always the key for a good video.
And a question that got asked from Clay is, what bulbs do we have in those light boxes?
We do have LED lights, so that they don't flicker like fluorescent.
Yeah.
And we have a nice, real true color without like. I think these are at 5,000 K, I think, or 5,500. One of those. I think 5,000. And audio-wise, again, the your typical microphones on like iPads and iPhones are kind of junk. So typically we have a couple options. One is this little guy plugs right into the lightning port, and there's also other ones that for Android and whatnot too. But this guy will improve your audio like crazy. This is the Shure MV88 little microphone there.
I've used that for video exchanges when we've been on the road, particularly touring in the UK.
And again, we have other typical USB microphones like the these blue mics, which aren't expensive at all, and they will give you a much more rounded sound and tone, and are just fantastic additions if you're using like a laptop kind of thing. Or there are converters going from the Lightning to USB that you can plug in that microphone and use with that as well.
Yep.
Now with Sarah, we have a secondary camera there.
Yay.
That's again pointed her. So we are crammed in this tiny little
Yes.
room.
Oh yeah, and show him my monitor.
Oh, we hooked up the monitor
Yeah.
the camera to a monitor there, so she can actually see
What you guys are saying.
and to also check her frame and all that kind of stuff. So, with that said, the biggest takeaway again is really focusing on getting as much light, on the subject on you as you can. It's always going to be the number one thing to really change. And to be honest, it's not that expensive. The lights above us were, I think, about $35 on sale from Amazon. And the maybe even less actually. It might have been like $40 for two.
And they came with the stands.
It comes with a stand. And the LED bulbs were like really gigantic ones, but they're about $14 each, but they provide a ton of light. So it's one of those things that if you instantly want to transform, your studio space for videos or just get better video quality in general, get better lights.
Yeah. Also, our particular lights, you might have noticed there, or maybe you didn't just because of the fabric, but there's a rod up there, and we bought these clamps so that the lights are actually clamped to the rods so that we can have them up and facing down at us. The one challenge that Craig has every time that he films us is that we are different shades, right? So his skin tone's a little bit darker than mine. So having the most light possible is really great to help him to be able to get really good lighting on both of our skin tones. Also, I have harsher features, so many times he'll put lights on me and I'll get crazy shadows because of my nose or like my chin. So trying to give me as much light wash as possible is super important for that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, so they are, I think you look up softbox lights for that on Amazon to kind of find those, and there's tons of options. Question about background. I want to redo the backdrops behind Sarah. I want something a little bit brighter. It changes the atmosphere of the room.
Well, you can see even looking at Craig's picture, look behind his head. Notice how the white really makes his hair pop, whereas if he had the blue behind him, his head would totally go away.
Yeah, I tend to blend in with the darker things in general too. But the reason why we ended up getting these curtains on sale, and we weren't sure how much filming we were going to do initially in this room, but we're going to be doing a ton more. So we will be kind of getting a little bit more colorful background. And for me, I'm all about color. I'm all about, having things pop a little bit more. So we might get like a light blue or even an orange or something fun and different. And again, it adds energy to the space as well.
And the beauty with curtains is that, one of these walls actually has a double. There's a green screen actually behind the curtain that's next to me. So you can actually have multiple curtains and things like that. And also because of how the rods are, it's easy to take them down and put up a new curtain and to change your background. But you'll notice this room also doubles as a recording studio, not just for video. So we also have these curtains up for just the practical purpose of having less reflections in the room.
Okay.
But there was a question about
let me catch up on questions real quick.
Yeah.
So for Brian, I want to know about how you get the iPad mounted to the stand. I have an iPad. So there is let me see if I can actually pull this down real quick.
So Craig right now is looking to see if he can take the iPad off so that he can show you.
Okay, so let me put this in the bigger screen. There's a little clamp here with connecting to this gigantic iPad clamp here, and I'm just clipping this onto the tripod with that part of the clamp. So it's not too bad.
Yeah. And the great thing too about that particular clamp is because it has these things it can rotate on, you can definitely change up like the angle and stuff. We use it frequently when if we do video exchanges and we have notes. Sometimes we'll actually use that and kind of like a teleprompter.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways to do it. You can use it, for music or to as a teleprompter. Or for me, again, I'm using an app called AstroPad that is mirroring what's happening in part of my main computer screen, so that I don't have to constantly look off camera. Mm-hmm. It's a great question there, James. Are you feeding multiple mics into a mixer board? So we do have a Shure SM7B in front of Sarah, and I'm using the shotgun attachment mic on the Zoom H6. And what we're doing, we're taking both of those signals into the Zoom, and then from the Zoom putting into my main camera, and so that from the HDMI out to our computer, it's getting all of that audio in plus that video in one signal, which is really fantastic. So it shouldn't ever really have issues with sync.
And then Chris Miller's got a great question about, do you have your cameras pointed up, down,
I want to catch up with other questions first. Oh, aloha, RJ. If you guys are ever in San Diego, SD Boba Tea is like, you need to go and try all of their food, all of the desserts. It's absolutely fantastic. And they've been actually a huge sponsor for the SD Arts Fest that we had a bunch of ukulele players come down for throughout the years. It's an awesome, awesome place. And we'll take some pictures later and show you, make you all jealous. Let's see, it has a lot of answers. For cameras, you always typically want to be high and then point low. Not only is it more flattering, but you get to see what's really important. So for example, because of the angle, I can fit more of my face and the uke in, and you can see all of that in frame. If you're in the middle, it tends to you have to kind of choose where you want to go, and shooting from below always looks awkward. So if you can raise it a little higher. Right now the camera is about this, maybe about 4 inches higher than my head at the moment.
And if I was to point it where the camera is for me, like, mine is more level than Craig's. Craig's is definitely more of an
mainly because
angle.
we didn't want to block the TV out of her,
so that I can I can
well.
see the things that you guys have to say. But mine is more level, whereas with Craig's you can see a lot more that's going on because it is higher.
Yeah, great question, guys. Any other questions before moving on to the meat and potatoes? For low-end VEs, iPads, and... sorry, I missed that question. Sorry, Stephen. All right, so, again, the big issue with iPhones even is that they actually, especially the newer iPhones and the newer Android phones, they have incredible cameras.
They do.
They actually will keep up with most of the point-and-shoots on the market. And so for me, they are fantastic, and the only reason you'll get like motion blur is because of low light. So again, light is going to be your best friend, even when shooting with an iPhone or an Android camera or a phone.
And front light, not backlight.
EyeSight in so long. I had the EyeSight camera back in the day too, and it was like the big thing. That's amazing. Yeah. I wonder if I still have it. I think I might have donated it.
You never know.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah, but definitely one thing that some of the Artist Work students, just when you guys submit VEs or even for your Skype lessons and stuff, make sure that the lights are front. You may light it really well and have stronger backlight, and that means you're going to be really dark. You need to make sure the front is really bright.
Yeah, and Brian, the audio video stuff, like, that's my other passion besides music. That's why we have like way more gear in this end than most of the other Artist Work teachers, I think. It's just because this is like I love. So again, we are testing actually a new camera today, and we're testing out a new mic that we use for the live stream too. So I think it's only going to get better from here too. And I love helping other people with that too, because again, I love to see people like share videos for the first time. I love seeing people taking that step forward. It's almost like an open mic for your music, but on a whole different level in that sense. You know what I mean? So I just love helping nurture that confidence.
And by backlighting, because I noticed that somebody had a question, by backlighting, I just mean like if you are doing a video and the window is behind you and there's sunlight coming through, whatever light you have in the front of you needs to be brighter than that sunlight, or just pull those curtains so that it's not super bright behind you.
All right, so let's get started on some of the...
Oh, do we want to do retreats or playing?
Oh, we didn't talk about the retreats.
We didn't talk about the retreats yet.
Okay,
Sorry, guys.
you can talk about the retreats.
Real quick, I know we want to get to playing. So we have 2 ukulele retreats that are coming up. Some of you guys will be joining us at one or even both of those. The first one coming down the pike is actually in Berlin. We are super excited about that. Our good friend Sabina is actually the one in charge of it, and getting signups and all of that. That one, it's going to be at least 3 classes a day. We're trying to see if we can squeeze in 4 and up for a couple of the days. But you're going to get to work with us on a very personal level, which is really exciting. We're trying to keep the class sizes small so that you can get individual attention from us. We'll be going over a lot of the stuff that we typically go over, like ergonomics, holding the instrument, going over various finger exercises, etc. But we're also going to be going over a variety of techniques, doing more jam etiquette type stuff in the classroom setting, so that when you go to a jam and someone says, take it, you'll know where to take it. Also, we're planning on doing some more just one-on-one stuff. We always ask people, and this is for both the Berlin retreat and also the Oahu retreat that we're doing. We ask people to just bring questions, come prepared with what you would like to learn. And our hope is that we can get to something that's on everybody's list. We will have names of classes and things listed in the schedules, but we do want people to know that there will be an ebb and a flow of things. If somebody asks a really amazing question that we want to answer, it might be that the subject of the class changes ever so slightly, and that's just fine. And then what else about Berlin? Will also have a really awesome show, and we are very excited about that. And I think you can get concert tickets even if you can't join us for the full, I think it's 4 days. And then the Oahu retreat, that's in August. Our good friend Melanie is putting that one on. You may know her from Tunes in the Dunes or even the Yukohana Molokai event. This is a Yukohana event, but it's on the island of Oahu, North Shore in Haleiwa. We're really excited about that one. Kalega Miao will be with us. And and I think Brian Tolentino as well. Walt will be there too. And there'll be a variety of other sort of guest artists. We'll be discussing Hawaiian language, culture. I'm hoping that we get to do lei making as well, but I'm not sure. We're still working on the schedule for that, but that's in August. Both of these events, you can learn more by going to our website and checking out our events page. There's plenty of information there. Those of you interested in the Berlin retreat, there is a place where you can contact Sabina and get more information from her. And the Oahu retreat, you can contact Melanie, and there's also a website that we are linked to from our thing.
Yeah, what's great about the Berlin too, and it is the weekend after GNUF, the Grand Northern Ukulele Festival. So we're going to be going from the UK straight to Berlin and having a great time there. It's going to be a ton of fun. Oh, I need to decline that. Okay, so, but yeah, for me, these retreats are going to be a little bit more free-form than your typical festival workshops, mainly because because of the smaller size, we can really take the time to kind of nurture everyone's different needs and goals. So that's something we're really looking forward to.
Oh, and there'll be evening jams, and I'm hoping in Berlin at least, we're planning on having sort of a game night. It'll be uke trivia, so be sure to brush up on some of your ukulele trivia, pop culture as well as technical things. It should be a lot of fun. We're very excited.
All right, so let's move on to some of the technique stuff now.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to break down some of the techniques that you heard me play in the very beginning. Again, we'll be let's use the verse for now.
Okay.
So we have the F, B flat, C. That's the main kind of thing that's happening.
And those of you that have just joined us, you could play a B flat. You could play a B flat 6, which is just removing your ring finger and having an open G. And you can, instead of regular C, you can move up to that 3rd fret C, that should which is either looks like the B flat 6 or the B flat. Either one, it looks the same and sounds pretty much the same.
So, again, what we're going to really do is really think about what is important to play. For me, with Sarah kind of holding down the rhythm, I was like, okay, I can take some liberties and kind of start mucking with the arrangement a little bit. And I love that movement, especially going up from that B flat to that C. So what we're going to do here, we're going to only hold the bottom 2 strings on that 1st fret for a second. So we're going to hit with our thumb the open C string, and then we're going to hammer that middle finger on that 2nd fret. So as you can see, I can create sound without even using my right hand. I can just smack it down on that 2nd fret. So I'm going to do an open B, open C, smack on that D note. Partial versus full bar on B flat
if
form.
If you do the full bar, you can't do this trick that Craig is teaching you.
Yeah, so for this particular one, we're going to try and just use the 2 strings barring on that 1st fret. So we can hit the open C, hammer that 2nd fret. Now after we hammer, so C, hammer, then you can pluck the E string, which is that 2nd to the bottom string. So it's going to sound like this. C, hammer, E string. C string, hammer, E string. C, hammer, E. C, hammer, E. Now, so we have 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to emulate that a little bit, but instead of a hammer, we're going to do a slide. So with that shape already down, we're now going to hit that C string one more time and slide that whole shape up 2 frets. So it's going to sound like this. One more time, we're just going to hit that C string and slide it up 2 frets. Alright, so far we have open C, hammer, E. Now we're going to pluck that C string again and then slide. So one more time, C, hammer, E, C, slide. Again, C, hammer, E, C, slide. C, hammer, E, C, slide. Now, after that slide, we're going to hit E and then A. So what's nice about that is on the right hand, I can use my index for the E and my middle finger for the A string. So it's actually going to look like this from the slide. C, slide, E, A. Alright, so if I was to say it out loud, it would be C, hammer, E, C, slide, E, A. C, hammer, E, C, slide, E, A. Again, C, hammer, E, C, slide, E, A. Again, C, hammer, E, C, slide, E, A. 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 Now, again, if this is a little over your head right now, don't worry, because you can always rewind and rewatch this a bunch of times until you get it down. But the concept, again, is really breaking down that same slide, that shape, but approaching the chord a little bit differently, outlining certain notes within that chord. Again, hammering, so it's going to be C with the hammer, E, and then we hit the C string again, slide 2 frets up, then E, A. So, if we were to do this in kind of the context of the song, so it is a really, really nice kind of addition to what's going on, instead of just doing. And again, what's nice about, anytime also that we kind of take away a full strum and do a single note or two single notes here and there, it's always going to sound a little bit more intricate. It's always going to sound more interesting because not only are you doing something different than the strum, but to the ear, you're actually doing something quieter, but it will stand out more because of it. So instead of hearing all four strings every single time we're doing these chords, it really does pop and stand out, especially layering on top of someone that's already doing the rhythm there for you.
Yep. And especially if someone's doing rhythm for you, making sure you don't play exactly, unless it's a part of the song that really calls for it, when you're listening to someone else play, and for example, like Craig knows, I'm going to be the one playing the main rhythm, and he can count on me to keep it going. He doesn't have to work as hard, and in fact, he can say things that are just a little bit more interesting for you. And the other thing that I was actually going to mention about what he showed you is you're ostensibly playing the same thing, but you're adding in a few key things, which is you're doing a hammer-on, which is something that we teach in the curriculum. So you're doing a hammer-on and a slide, but the chords you're still playing are pretty much the same thing.
Now, and Rachel, we're so excited to be back to the soiree.
Yes.
When is that?
It's in May.
Well, it's right before the UK.
Yeah. We have. It's funny because right. we are traveling a lot less, but for some reason the festivals and events we're doing are crammed right next to each other.
Now, if you haven't been to this one yet, you have to. Are tickets on sale already?
Yep, tickets are on sale.
If you're in Allegheny area, what else is around there? Pittsburgh-ish /
It doesn't matter if you're not even in the area. You should just book your ticket and visit and come to the soiree.
But we're excited. It's actually at a new location this year.
Yes, a larger one.
Yeah, we're super excited to be back.
Aaron and Nicole Kime will be there,
yes.
And we're bringing our bass player Milo. He's going to teach uke bass classes as well as perform with us and Aaron and Nicole.
Oh, have a good time, Kenneth. It's great to see you.
Oh, bye, Kenneth.
All right, now, from there too. Now, what I was doing on the F chord is something that I think I actually brought up before in a different live stream, but it's one of my favorite kind of go-to patterns, and it encompasses a bunch of different little things, but we're actually doing less than a ton of different strumming.
Let's make you the bigger one, honey.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, you could be full screen if you wanted.
Right. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do a thumb on that C string. Now, I'm going to close up my notes, my strings, with these two fingers, so that when I do a strum down, you're just going to hear that. If you hear this, that means you're squeezing too hard. So again, this nice light touch. We're going to call this a scratch. So it's going to be thumb, scratch, and then I'm going to come up on the A string with a mute, and then E string with a mute. And all that means is that after I pluck the A and the E, I'm going to touch the strings with my left hand just to stop them from vibrating and from ringing. It has that ambulance sound, right? So in context, it's going to be thumb, scratch. So that's part one. Thumb on the C, and then scratch. You can either do a single strum or a fan to get even more of that texture. And then up on the A, and up on the E. Okay, so we have thumb, scratch, A, E. Thumb, scratch, A, E. Thumb, scratch, A, E. Thumb, scratch, A, E. Now again, the beautiful thing about this particular kind of rhythm pattern is that you're not doing a constant 4 strings every single time. So we have this nice... So even if I just kept, without the other stuff, I just keep that strum pattern the exact same. It's thumb, scratch, A, E, 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 thumb, scratch, A, E. So I'm going to do it one more time, a little bit slower. Thumb, scratch, A, E, 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 thumb. Now, whenever you're learning something new, try to keep the variables as small as possible. So what I would tell students who are trying this for the very first time is just stick with that F chord and just do thumb, scratch, A, E. And even you can break it down even more than that. You can just focus on thumb, scratch, thumb, scratch, thumb, scratch, thumb, scratch, and then work on A, E with that mute in between. And then just adding that together. Thumb, scratch, A, E. Stay on the F. Thumb, scratch, A, E. Thumb, scratch, A, E. Thumb, scratch, A, E. And then worry about the chord changes. Again, always build from the smallest amount of variables as possible. That's really going to help things kind of sync up without the stress of like, oh my God, I missed that chord, and getting all crazy and whatnot.
And even if you're doing simple rhythm behind something like this, a technique like this, it will sound best if I'm not doing this the whole time. What I tend to do, because I want to make sure that because if I hear him doing those single notes and that fan, he's trying to say something important, and it's best that I don't drown him out. So what I might do is just... And I'm just muting in between each time I strum. And I'm also trying to time it so that when he hits his first note, the thumb, I'm strumming, but I mute immediately. And then when he plays the A string, that's when I come in again. So it's strum, strum. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and. So that's what I'm doing when I hear him do certain techniques, is I think, oh, I should probably play less so that you can hear what he's doing. And so that's what I'm up to.
All right, now we have a couple shout-outs.
We do. Leslie, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us and for letting us know it was you, because I wouldn't have known from your name. Also, oh my gosh, from Germany, it's wonderful. Sorry, I look so funny looking over at my monitor, but aloha to you in Germany. Thank you so much for joining us. The live streams, we really enjoy doing them because it's always fun to kind of break things down, and also just to get to chat with you guys, since we don't get to see you all the time.
Now, again, we'll kind of explore a little bit more of that later, but you can always rewind to watch that explanation again. But one of the things I want to talk about now is how can you just jump in a group of people and start playing along, and it's not easy, but because we tend to get stressed out, especially when we're playing with others, and when, for whatever reason, when we tend to be nervous, we end up playing louder.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're playing louder than like everyone around us because we're nervous and trying to fit in and trying to for somehow make them follow you, even though you're not the one that's really leading the song or know the progression that well. Mm-hmm. So we're going to give you some tips on what to kind of focus to get you to the point of being able to just sit down and play with people. One, don't ever hesitate to ask what key you're playing in.
Oh my gosh, yes. Don't be shy.
That's something that everyone benefits from, right? So
yeah. Because if you have that question, someone else probably has that question
but
too.
It does make it, and asking for the key is not the same as, oh, what is the progression? Because that might take too long to kind of do. Mm-hmm. So if you can get the key that you're playing in, you have a huge jump start of finding the rest of the chords. Now, here's your homework assignment. Whether you're an artist work student or not, this is your homework assignment for the week. I want you to go through your club music or your stack of papers and music that you downloaded from the internet, and I want you to put things in order of what key they're in. So if they're all the songs in the key of C are in this pile, all the songs in the key of F in this pile, etc. Then I want you to really start to see what chords you're going to frequent. And you're going to notice, and when you're in the key of C, you're going to see a lot of Fs. You're going to see a lot of G7s, a lot of A minors. Same thing with F. You're going to see a lot of B flats. You're going to see a lot of C or C7. But the more you start to really pay attention to these chords that are frequented in that family, this is how you're going to get that nice jump start of being able to have educated guesses of what chord comes next. So part of it is, one, just being familiar with which chords you will typically see. And for 90% of the songs out there, they will have the same family. There will be songs that kind of break the rules a bit or have a different thing. Like, for example, the vamps in Hawaiian, the Hawaiian vamps have a dominant 2 rather than a minor 2. So again, that for the most part, and for all the pop songs, you'll see the same kind of family of chords, and there'll be a couple that stand out, but you want to look at the majority and see which ones you always typically see. Once you can kind of familiarize yourself with that, then it's about listening to the kind of how would you put it?
Well, are you thinking about the movement of the chords? Because that's usually what I'm listening for next. So, for example, one thing that I used to do, and still on occasion will do if I'm having trouble sort of following a tune, is we have, I was about to reference the verse, actually.
I can do that.
So, no problem, sweetheart. So if we have the verse of this song up there, right, and I'm looking at my music, I actually might just play root notes to kind of hear what is happening with the main part of the song. So if I have, that F chord, instead of playing a full F, now the other fun thing about this is it's really going to make you learn your fretboard and learn the notes on it. So if I just sit there and play root movement, so F, F, B flat, or F, 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 B flat, C, then F. And I really listen to that. And I might find other places to play those notes. And then I'm on F, B, and B flat, and F, F, C, C, going through and kind of being a bass, playing what the bass kind of would play. They'd probably play other notes too, but the basis of, but hearing the movement between chords and sort of the intervals, if you will, between your chord changes, I find really, really helpful. And then when you go and switch to a different key, that interval will still be the same, even though you're playing different notes. And that's something that just sitting around and going through that is really helpful. The next thing you can do is maybe play root and fifth, which would be a lot of what a bass player would do. And that's the root and fifth of the specific chord. But that's kind of getting more into detail than when you're first starting out. When you're first starting out, just try to find, your root notes and play those as you go to try to help you hear the movement within the piece itself.
Now, and a great kind of practice example for this, let's say using something that you have all the time, like your phone. There's a bunch of recording apps. There's a great free one, on the iPhone at least. And record yourself playing through some music. Let's say using that progression, the F, B flat, this Hey Baby progression. And then you record yourself for a few minutes, and then you can cut out F, B flat, and C, and just or just have that available, so that it has to be one of those chords. Mm-hmm. And then you play it back, and see if you can just
jump in.
And part of that, you'll recognize if F is going to be your home base, that's going to be typically the easiest one to kind of jump in on, especially because it's the start of each phrase. And then from there, it's about, having your options. And if there's only 2 other chords and you can hear the chord switch, you have a 50% chance of getting it right. And then so part of that then is trying to work on increasing that ratio. So part of it is really analyzing and thinking to yourself, okay, I know what F to C sounds like. I got to practice what F to B flat sounds like. And you can even record that a bunch of times. But these are all the little things, that we used to do to kind of train our ear to hear these different progressions, to hear going from one chord to the next. And again, we have so many tools under our belt that we can use, like our phones, to help record and to test ourselves to see if we could just jump in on a song that only has 2 to 3 chords. But if we can hear when those changes are, that's half the battle already.
I also find to add to that is if I've recorded myself playing a progression, what I might do is actually move it and start in the center with the recording to see if I can really jump in, where I'm not hearing the start of it at all. I'm just kind of going in 1 minute of my recording session and being like, good luck. And that's another great way to just practice.
Yeah, and for those of you who are, more intermediate and advanced, the same thing applies to, training your ear to hear what like a major 7 chord sounds like, or major 6 chord, and just being able to, again, practice recording stuff and see if you can start hearing those differences between, a 3-note voicing compared to a 4 and what those nuances really feel like.
And one of the big nuances to really look for when you're doing that kind of thing is major versus minor, because you want to make sure that you can hear the difference between a major 6, F major 6 versus an F minor 6, for example. I also find with what Craig was saying is if you're going into the more complex chords, I actually like to go through and try to arpeggiate them. One, for example, C7. So I might go through, and I may not start on the root, but the notes in your C7 are C, E, G, and B flat, right? So I'll go through and be like, okay, C, E, G, B flat, and I might spend some time here, or I might play, this is my 7, or flat 7, and then I have my root, and I might play them together, and then C, so going through systematically that way. Then I also might have a recording of me just playing C7, and then I might just practice going through and arpeggiating out of order while a C7 is being played. So I might do something like that while a C7 is going on. And that kind of helps me get my ear tuned to each note found within the chord. But that's something that's definitely more for an intermediate player. And that was also just in one position. I would do that in every chord position.
And actually, before we move on, because I want you to jump into that second song, I use that for examples too, but I want to bring up an exercise that we had one of our students, Brian Liebauer, excuse me, I had him start picking scales while reading a newspaper or book. And I think this was such a fun exercise because it's something I trained myself to do too. And the reason why this was so important to me was when I saw Capenna with Kelly Boyd DeLima back in the day, and he was just ripping these crazy fills and solos while singing. And it was just like, oh my God, I want to be able to do that. So not only did it help with the fills and solos while doing other stuff, but even with just chords, so one of the things that I challenge you guys to do is take a simple progression like, just F and B flat, C, and without that quick change at the end. And, being able to have a conversation while keeping that rhythm, this is going to be one of the best exercises if you really want to start isolating these different kinds of parts of your brain. And so this also allows you to really listen. I can focus on Sarah's playing. I can see her bobbing back and forth in the screen, but this is how you can, see the guy in the back of the room saying, oh, you need to tune up, or you need to, bring your game down. But also I can think about the lyrics. I can think about, what the song means to me and what's coming up next. I can think about, dinner for tonight. That does get in the way sometimes where you have too much time on your hands. But I can say, oh, maybe I want to go soft. And I can do maybe something fancy. I can get louder. But it being able to really do so many different things. Okay? I'm just keeping that F, B flat, C. And, even if it's just a simple chord progression, but especially if you're trying to memorize lyrics, especially if you're trying to have, the vocals be as natural sounding as possible, you you want to have this backing kind of track just second nature, so that you don't have to worry about the uke part at all. You know, so if I'm singing with it, you know, hey, hey, baby. Oh, and all the syncopation I can do, especially if I try to, you know, read through a book or a newspaper and try to change up the pace. You know, and what I would suggest at first is even just doing like one word per beat, you know. Today in the news of San Diego, there was much wind, and you know, and walks got canceled, you know, and but this is how you're going to get started, and then trying to be a little bit more relaxed with it. But you know, a lot of times when we, you know, especially when I first started going on stage, everything felt a little robotic. Everything felt like it had to be in this precise order that I practiced it, or else it would fall apart.
Yeah.
But as you see people on stage, we will have fun, we'll laugh, we'll even make mistakes, but it'll still have this flow. It'll still have this very tangible kind of energy to it, where it doesn't matter if we got off for a second and then got back on, you know, or you know, we forgot the words, we can jump back in and still maintain that rhythm. So a lot of, unless you practice for it, it's gonna feel weird. So again, these are the things that you can do to practice to get yourself out of those situations.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just be more free with what you're doing.
And aloha, Karen. I remember you from the Alaska cruise. We had such a fun time. Also, Mark, I know, mentioned earlier about our Alaska cruise. That's actually our first trip out of the gate. We're very excited about that. And excited,
Mexico.
Mexico. Well, the cruise, it's the next cruise out of the gate. So going to Mexico. So we're really excited about that. So thank you guys. And one person asked, do we have any tips for learning scales? And I say yes, but it also depends on the kind of learner that you are. If you are a patterns-based person, then when you learn your scales, trying to be exacting with the exact finger that you're going to use each time you do it, the way that you kind of do with your chords at first, because you want to be able to remember that under this finger I know is this note, etc. So if you're a pattern-based person, that's actually how we teach at Artist Works, and how we initially teach you scales is a pattern. If you're trying to actually learn the names of the notes, then saying the names of the notes as you play them is going to be what I would recommend for learning your scales, because that, and what we tend to teach is, here's the pattern, and then later on we say, okay, here's the notes, because getting the pattern under your fingers means you'll be able to play it. So, because sometimes when you learn the names of the notes at the same time, you can find yourself a bit frustrated because you're doing too many things at once. But it sort of depends on how you like to learn. Yeah.
And aloha, Andrew. At this point, I'm going to have Sarah kind of introduce a second.
I think we don't have enough time for that. Let's save it for the next live stream, actually. Sorry, we have another song in our plans, but we'll get to that one, I think, in the next one. Because we have another live stream we're planning on doing. I think it's March 6th.
Well, maybe we'll do an impromptu one in a few weeks when Brian and Steven are here, too.
We'll see. We'll see. But it wouldn't use that tune, though, probably. But anyway.
Before we wrap up, are there any questions that we can help answer before we leave? And then maybe we'll end with playing that song one more time. And we'll just
and then try out various things. Even if you're just playing your sort of plain Jane chords, try muting in between each one that you play. For example, when I play B flat, I release the pressure in my hand. All the vibration stops. Or if I'm playing C and I'm using that one, I just cover the strings. But trying to do something simple like that will also help shape your playing, even if you can't do some of the fancy slides and hammer-ons that Craig showed earlier.
But again, the big takeaway for I hope that you get for at least the video portion is the more light, the better. Always,
yes.
And then you can manipulate it in a way to create more effects. But the more light, typically, the better. For the playing with others kind of thing, again, getting familiar with the chord families, what chords you're going to frequent, that's going to be the biggest thing to kind of start training yourself on. And again, that's something you can do in an afternoon easily by just sorting out your music and seeing, the ones that are in the same keys, which chords they always go to, and see if you can start hearing what those transitions sound like from each chord. That's going to be, a huge step in getting to the point of just hearing a progression out loud and being able to interpret it in your head.
Oh, and one thing I wanted to add to that too, actually, is as you're playing and looking at your songbooks, I would recommend taking a song or two, start with an easy key like C, and write the number of what that chord is. Like over C, you would write 1. Over F, you could write 4, etc. Because when you play, it might be good to actually say the number out loud so that you kind of get it installed in your head.
Oh, well, so you had enough, Paul.
Yes.
Oh, dealing with
Stage fright.
Woo! No, my 2 cents on stage fright is that, like anything else, the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be. Okay. My thing is that when I really started getting out there playing music, I went to an open mic every single night of the week in Eugene, Oregon, and they were not uke crowds at all, so it was even more kind of crazy, and there's so many little things, but a part of it is forcing yourself to rely on the second nature of how much time you put in practicing. That's what you'll fall back on. If you don't feel comfortable playing the song in general, of course it's going to be even harder to really feel up to snuff and comfortable in your shoes while you're doing it in front of other people. Even if it's for a bunch of stuffed animals and things in a chair, part of it is pretend you're on stage, pretend you're performing in front of 50 people, 100 people. And Sarah had a great tip when we got together, is that she would practice all the in-between stuff as well. She would practice
jokes,
some of the banter, some of the things that she was wanting to say at a festival. So she would practice thanking certain people. Mm-hmm. All of that helps kind of get you used to doing it, so you're not saying it for the first time on stage. So nothing beats time and experience in that sense.
I would also practice, all the other reason why I would do those things was also to practice and time it, because a lot of times at these things you have a time limit, and so making sure that you can say and do everything that you want to do within that time limit is very important.
Now, another thing that you can think of is practice playing in front of a camera. Everyone gets nervous when there's a camera right in front of their face, and this is for
that's a good one, Craig.
Video exchanges as well. But get used to having that pressure of like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be recorded. Mm-hmm. But it's gonna get you used to it. It's gonna get you more comfortable again in that performance kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
And Sarah used to recommend play in front of a mirror as well, so that you know what you look like on stage too, and
True.
and then you don't have to second guess of, if I did this kind of weird thing with my face, is that going to look weird for the audience? You can kind of tell, like, maybe I won't do that, or it's okay if I do this, yada yada yada. But again, the more things you do and mimic that atmosphere, the better off you're going to be.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing with stage fright that if I find that I get super nervous on stage, I actually close my eyes while I'm on stage, because I don't have to look at everybody all the time. And so sometimes I'll close my eyes and envision that I'm on our couch and try to visualize my living room. Because for me, that is a calming place and a place I practice frequently. So sometimes if I get really, really nervous, you'll see me close my eyes, and I'll try to smile while I close my eyes, so I'm looking like I'm having a good time, and that will also be really, really helpful for me to try to get and then I'll focus on my breathing a little bit too, especially if I'm not singing and I'm just doing an instrumental. I find that helps me too.
Awesome. That was a great question.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we wrap today up? And this was so much fun. And again, we're going to be doing this so much more throughout the year as well. And again, a quick shout out, a thank you again to our Artist Work students who kind of put the itinerary together for today on the themes.
Yes, and for some of the things that we didn't get to, like practice techniques with a metronome, drum machine, we'll try to remember to add that to next month's live stream. We are going to try to do these special live streams monthly for the ones where our Artist Work students get to pick the topics, we're going to try to do these on a monthly basis. I know we already have a date kind of set up in March, but we'll let you guys know. If you aren't on our mailing list, go ahead and go to our website and sign up, because then we usually will email you a couple of weeks beforehand so that we can, so you can have the link so you can watch live streams.
And again, for those of you who aren't our students or just, fans and friends, and for those live streams that we don't have our students kind of pick the theme, definitely let us know in emails or on Facebook, what you hope for us to do in the future for those that we have more open to the public in that sense of the theme. And we'd love to kind of put some stuff together for you guys.
And sometimes, yes, Rachel, I do think of the audience as guinea pigs when I'm playing, because that is something like, they're very comforting little furry critters. So yes, and Nettie Lisa, you know what? Maybe it would be fun for the next live stream if we actually kind of do take you through some of the instruments we have, because we actually have a fair amount. Some of them are sort of novelty, meaning that we're not going to perform with them, but we do play them a lot. And Kirk, I do hope we can come to Alabama. Y'all probably know I am originally from Birmingham, so I do still have family and friends in Birmingham. So, and I have some family in Atlanta, Georgia. So Atlanta's not that far of a drive to be able to hop over, maybe visit my good friend Bob Tedrow in Birmingham. That would be a lot of fun too, because I haven't seen him in a few years. He actually was the one who restored and fixed I say my first, but it's, you could probably cover my hands with that.
That's it.
Okay. But he's the one that sold me my full-size violin that I still play and love. So Craig is getting the song ready. We're going to go through it. We have the verse listed on top, and then we can either call it the bridge or chorus.
Yeah, so just as a heads up, the verse usually happens twice, then the bridge, and then the verse once, and then it repeats everything again.
Yeah.
Again, this is going to be a good example. I'll help shout out when we get to the bridge, but we'll just have some fun, and I want to do some things that will probably add some elements that we'll talk about the next time as well. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I wanna know if you be my girl. One more time. Hey, baby. I wanna know if you be my girl. Let's go to the bridge. B flat. When I saw you walking down the street, said, that's the kind of girl I'd like to meet. It's G7, so pretty, you're so fine. One hit. I wanna make you mine, oh mine. Hey, baby. I wanna know if you be my girl. Let's stick on the verse. I wanna know if you be my girl. Hey, baby. I wanna know if you be my girl. Let's go to the bridge one more time. When you turned and walked away, that's when I wanna say, come on, baby, give me a whirl. I wanna know if you be my girl. Hey, baby. I wanna know if you be my girl. Hey, baby. I wanna know if you be my girl.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much again for joining us for our live stream. We're going to be doing a lot more of these throughout the year.
Yep.
Definitely check out our page again with a bunch of events coming up, especially for the UK. We have Gnuff. We have our Berlin trip. And before those two, we have our Allegheny Soiree.
Yes, and before that, we have the ukulele cruise.
Oh, yes.
Going to Mexico.
Yes. But,
and then August is the Oahu retreat.
Yes.
And then I know there's a few more after that as well.
So again, thank you guys so much for your support. With the 3 years being the crazy travel years, it's been nice to actually be able to stay home a little bit more and just focus on writing, focus on our teaching a little bit more, and creating new workshops and events. So thank you guys very, very much. Hopefully we'll see you guys very soon.
Yes.
Aloha.
Bye, everybody. Woo!